Everybody, and welcome to Expert Examiner IELTS live stream. Last week I started the live stream and I was speaking for about 2 or 3 minutes before I realized that I wasn't live. Today I've done exactly the same thing, but this time I've been speaking for 6 minutes. And welcome to Expert Examiner IELTS. I can hear myself in the background. Last week I started. Let's turn that off. Yeah, so last week I was speaking for 2 or 3 minutes. This week I've been speaking for 6 minutes, but speaking to nobody. We are going to get through things a little bit more quickly this time, so I'm not going to go over the format of the test because I'm sure you're already familiar with that. I am trying something new today. I'm working with 2 different monitors, so I'll try to continue to speak into one microphone even if I'm looking over the other side. So if I do lose a little bit of audio quality, sorry about that. But I'm still learning this whole streaming thing. I think I'm going to get the top commentator. Says Ghostman. There you go, Ghostman, vying to be the top commenter today. If you can hear me in the stream, please do just leave a message to say I can hear you or I can see you or something like that, because I'm not 100% sure that it's working, but I'm 99% sure that we're going. So I just want to put a quick update. Last Wednesday, I did 2 mock speaking tests. The first one was with I think a Russian girl called Sasha. I awarded her 8.5. She took her real test and she got 7.5. I was kind of surprised by that. Being out by 0.5 marks is absolutely normal. Usually examiners are not, one whole band out from each other, so I'm not sure what happened. If maybe she got a really hawkish examiner, possibly. Maybe some of the questions were a bit more difficult for her, or she was more nervous, or maybe my marking is just incredibly inaccurate. Who knows? But I awarded, I think, 8.5 and she got 7.5. And also Tayyib from Bangladesh, I awarded him 6.5. He took his real test and got a score of 6.0. And this is strange because typically with Bangladesh candidates, my marking is usually like 0.5 below, or even sometimes a whole band below what they get in the real test. I have some theories about why this happens with candidates from Bangladesh, but yeah, that's not for this live stream. But strange to be, I gave 6.5, he got 6.0. So last week I was generous. Maybe I should be a bit more hawkish with my marking and be, very strict. But let's see. So we have a few candidates who've put their name forward. I'm going to select one at random. Okay, I've selected a candidate, and it is, I apologize if the pronunciation is not correct, but Mukhtorova. I've seen this person's name in the chat quite a few times before, so I'm glad that this person finally has an opportunity, because, the candidates are always selected at random, but sometimes, you see the same names for a long time, and you kind of think like, oh, I hope that person gets one. So I'm going to contact Mukhtarova just to give her, I think it's a female based on the A at the end of the surname, but I'm going to give this candidate the link to join me on Zoom. That's there. That's there. Should write hi also. So I've sent that link over to Mukhtarova now. Hopefully she will join me very shortly and we can get into the first test. Last week I managed to do 2. I'm really hoping if I speed it up with less yapping, hopefully I can get through 3 today at least, but we'll see. Yeah, so just waiting for the candidate to join. I'm going to make sure that I have my Zoom up. Not my Zoom, sorry, my speaking tests up. That's the first one. Great. So I'm ready. I think the candidate has replied. Are you sure that's a link, says the candidate. I can't copy it. It's a Zoom link. That's the Zoom link. That's where I am at the moment. Just if you have Zoom on your phone, click on the link. If you don't have Zoom on the phone, then it's not going to open. And again, many candidates write or not many, but sometimes candidates write and they say, well, I can't access the call, or I can't, that's, it's not my responsibility to make sure that you know how to use Zoom. It's a fairly well-known application. If you'd like to take part and if you'd like to be a candidate, you have to be ready with Zoom. So I'm just going to give the candidate just 2 minutes, and if she hasn't connected in 2 minutes, then I'm going to choose another candidate. Remember, if you would like to take part, you should have access to Zoom available. If you're using your phone, you should have the app. If you're not using your phone, if you're using a laptop, you can just click on the link and join from the browser. In the meantime, I'm just going to have a look at the chat to see if there are any questions. Let's pull that over. Okay, any questions? Oh, some people are chatting with each other. Future Sancho says, hi, can anyone explain how he chooses candidates? Yeah, so I have a Telegram channel, and on the Telegram, you'll see a link to that in the description. On the Telegram channel, I write, hey, does anyone want to take part and be a candidate today? Then a bunch of people say, yes, me. And then one person is selected at random, and then I send them the link, and then they don't join, and then I choose another person and send them the link, and eventually somebody joins. So that's how it works. Saifetdinov says, Olimchon, sorry. Hello, Glyn with an I. Interesting spelling there. My name is Glyn with a Y, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Darkstar Envy says, I got 6.5 in the exam. You gave me 7.5. Sorry about that. The candidate says, in Bangladesh we get less scores. Yeah, there is more variability, but I have done the research on this, right? I've contacted all previous candidates and asked, like, what did you get in the real test? And about, most of them I'm within 0.5, but there are more candidates that get a higher mark than what I gave them. So maybe they do well from the feedback, they follow the feedback, maybe they don't. But if I gave you 7.5 and you got 6.5, then, sorry. Someone says, is it a flex though? About Darkstar Envy, I got a 7.5. Cool, congrats, you got a 7.5. Awesome. Sorry for misspelling your name. That's all right. Okay, Mukhtarova's not going to join, I guess, so we're going to go to somebody else. Let's copy the link again. So I guess Mukhtarova isn't going to join, so now I'm going to choose another candidate. Hopefully somebody is out there ready to be a candidate. Let's have a look. Candidate says inaminete. No idea what that means. Sorry. Okay, let's have a look at another candidate. Let's choose another candidate at random. Oh, she's just about got here in time. Okay, we'll accept this call. Hopefully. So she has clicked to join. Now I'm just waiting. I know sometimes if you download the Zoom app very quickly, sometimes it can take a while. Hello, can you hear me okay? Oh, I can't hear you. Maybe your microphone isn't connected? I don't hear you at all, no. Let's go to the chat. Can anyone in the chat hear? Nope, still don't hear you. I can see that your mouth is moving, but I still don't hear you. So there must be an issue with the microphone. Sometimes candidates mute themselves, but that's not the case with you, I think. Yeah, people in the chat also say that they can't hear you, so I know that the problem is not my side. I guess I'll keep looking at the chat. It's always a difficult thing with, and I'm speaking both to the candidate and to the viewers here, always a difficult thing when you're live streaming, because not an expert at this. I have no idea. I have nobody here to test to see if the candidates' microphones work and so on, but it appears not. Let's have a look at some more things in the chat. So most people say no voice, can't hear. Yeah, I'm just waiting, just giving the candidate a few more minutes to see if the microphone works. Oh, I can see that she's trying to connect to audio. No, so there's a problem with her microphone because it's not connecting. It comes up that she's trying to connect. Nope, still not connecting. One person says, you gave me 6.5, I got 6.0, but I got breakdown in pronunciation 7, other 6. Okay, so you got 6.25, which rounds down to 6.0. So Ghostman asks how many people will be taking the speaking mock today. It depends on how fast I can get through it. Hopefully, if candidates are super fast and they come on and there are no technical problems, maybe I can get through a maximum of 4. If there are super big problems, then I probably won't get through more than 2. So I'm going to give our candidate just 45 seconds or 30 seconds. I can see that you're speaking, but again, I just can't hear you. So I'll give 30 seconds if you want to try to fix it, but if not, I'll have to ask you to leave and call another candidate, which, is a pity. But I will get in touch with you on Telegram, so you won't miss your chance completely to get a speaking test. I will give you that opportunity to do it another time because I can see that you're here, you're trying to connect, it just doesn't work. So I guess I will ask you to leave. Oh, she's trying one more time, connecting to audio. No. So I'll be in touch with you on Telegram. You'll get your speaking test, but it won't be in this live stream today, unfortunately. So I'll have to ask you to disappear. I'm really sorry. Anyway, I'm going to go into Telegram and select another candidate for this. Let's have a look. There's someone with 2 dots as their name. Now, I don't usually choose the people with 2 dots because they're usually people with multiple accounts, and I've had lots of problems. So if you are that candidate that just has 2 dots, I don't usually choose people with things like this. Let's pick that one. Oh no. Nope, that candidate has written twice, so I'm not going to choose that person. So we have somebody called M. Asadbek. I'm going to go with M. Asadbek. I'm going to put the Zoom link in Telegram to you. Hi. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's done live streaming before, but it can be really stressful when you're trying to do a million things at the same time. I have the chat, I have the Zoom, I have the OBS. Somebody says, it's my birthday, can I be next? No, because everybody says it's their birthday, because it's the internet, it's always everybody's birthday. Somebody wants some special favor. Everything has to be random. The candidate says just a minute, which usually I don't love because I hope candidates will be ready. I'll do better than just a minute. I'll give the candidate 2 minutes, but if the candidate hasn't joined in 2 minutes, I will select a third candidate. If the third candidate doesn't come, then maybe it's time to end the stream because, like I say, it's so difficult to get candidates when things are for free. It's so difficult to get candidates, which is, for me, amazing. I never had difficulties. I've been working as an English teacher for quite a long time. I've never had difficulties finding students, right? I've never looked for students. It's always been the case that somebody knows about me or somebody's asking me, and I find students to teach all the time for money. When it comes to finding doing work for free with people, it's so difficult to find people. But Asadbek has joined. Let's hope that his microphone is a little better. Now I need to make sure that I have... Hello, Asadbek.
Hey, how are they?
I'm good. I can hear you, but your audio is just a little bit low.
I'll try to speak louder then.
Do you have any settings? Do you have any audio settings on your Zoom to turn
I
up the
have
microphone?
my headphones. Can I connect them if you give me a minute?
Yeah, but I don't know if that will change your microphone, but okay.
Just a second.
In the chat, can you let me know how the candidate's audio is? Because it seems to be a little bit low from my point of view.
Can you hear me now?
I
Is this
can hear
better?
you. I still think you're quite low, but maybe that's a problem on my side, actually. Let's not worry about it. So, thank you for being a brave candidate joining the live stream. Before
Thank you
we
for the
start the
opportunity.
test, can you just tell me something about yourself? Like, where are you from, and what are your plans with regards to IELTS?
Um, I was born and raised in Tashkent, here in Uzbekistan. My personal score is 8.5. I got 7.5 in speaking. It was 4 or 5 months ago. So yeah, I'm planning to retake the test very shortly. So yeah, hoping for the best.
Why do you need IELTS? Is it to study abroad, or I guess you're an English teacher?
Yes, I am. As you can see, I'm here in the learning center. I just finished my lessons and I was working on my speaking and I was just trying my luck and then I got the opportunity.
Oh, amazing. Who do you teach? Do you teach like adults, teenagers, kids?
Um, all levels, I conduct general English lessons, also IELTS level students. So yeah, I teach all of them.
Okay. What are since you're an IELTS, someone who prepares candidates for IELTS, what would you say are your top 3 tips when it comes to the speaking
Uh,
test?
Well, first of all, I would suggest them to immerse themselves as much as they can with the language, so that they can be exposed to different native like chunks, just natural words and phrases. That would be my first tip. Um, for secondly, they can probably listen to English content to improve their speaking. I mean, the more you listen, the better your speaking becomes. And then finally, I'll probably suggest them learn vocabulary because a lot of students are lazy. I don't want to sound too offensive, but yeah,
All right, there you go. Listen to natural speech. Don't be lazy. Learn your vocabulary. Okay,
yeah.
okay. So obviously you're very familiar with the format of the test. I don't need to explain any of this to you. We'll go through the test from start to finish. At the end, I'll give you some feedback. I'll give you an approximate score. And remember, sometimes candidates get 8.5 one day, they might get 9 another day, and then they might even get 7 another day, depending on, the types of questions. IELTS speaking, of course, measures not you as a human, but it just measures your performance in that 11 to 14 minutes. No test is perfect, and 11 to 14 minutes isn't really enough to say exactly all of your strengths and weaknesses, but we'll see how you do. All right, ready to start?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Mukhtar John Asadbek.
And what should I call you?
You can just call me Asadbek.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where do you live?
I live in Tashkent. It's the capital city of Uzbekistan.
And what do you like most about living in Tashkent?
My favorite part of my city would be probably the infrastructure. Here we have very adequate infrastructure, transports run on time, and we have all the facilities that we need. So yeah.
And is there anything you don't like about the city?
One thing that I would love to change would be probably the number of cars on the roads. There's this constant stream of cars, and especially during rush hours, it might get over jammed. So probably that would be the one thing that I would probably change, something that I don't like.
Do you think you'll continue living in Tashkent in the future?
Most probably no, because I'm planning to move abroad for my studies. So yeah, probably I'll relocate to Australia, maybe.
All right, let's move on and talk about drinking now. How much water do you drink every day?
I do my best to stay hydrated. That'd be probably like 4 or 5 liters of water on a daily basis because I know the importance of water and how I feel without it. So yeah,
And apart from water, what else do you drink?
I think I'm a sucker for coffee. I cannot live without this coffee, right? I think is this has already become an integral part of my diet, kinda. So yeah, coffee. Apart from coffee, probably I would drink juice, but it's not like a habit of mine. I do it very seldomly.
And does your country have any well-known drink brands?
Ah, that's an interesting question. I've never thought about the popularity of uh, drink drink like brands we have here, but probably do we have this Ahmad tea or something? I'm not really sure about the name, but I think it's quite popular. Tourists love it, and they kind of comment on it when they come.
And are there any drinks that you avoid?
I really don't like drinking tap water because I feel like it is not pure and it should be filtered first. So yeah, that would be the only type of thing that I avoid.
Okay, let's move on now and talk about parks. Are there a lot of parks in the place where you live?
Yeah, I can confidently say that we have a lot of green spaces here in my country. I feel like they serve as a lung of the city, and our government recognizes the importance of it. So yeah, they've built a lot of them.
And when did you last go to a park?
It's just last week, as my students, we had this interesting park tour. We did a lot of things. We did some singing along the way, and then we had very quality time.
And in your city, are parks more popular with younger people or older people?
I don't really think that there is a stark difference between the tendency of elderly or young people going to parks. I feel like it's pretty much the same because it's just a place that doesn't really discriminate the age, I guess. So yeah,
And what kind of activities do you often see in parks?
the most common type of activity would be walking. People just love taking this, nice walk in the park. Also, a lot of people cycle. They sometimes have their own bike, sometimes they rent, but I think these are the most two common activities that we can see in my park, in the parks in my city.
And did you like to play in parks when you were a child?
I want to say yes, but my parents didn't really take me to parks a lot, so I didn't spend a lot of time there. But now I spend, I think, a lot of time, like at least twice. I go there twice a week. But in the past, no, I wouldn't say so.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this next part of the test, I'm going to give you a topic, and I would like you to speak about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. But before that, you will have 1 minute to prepare for your talk, and you may take notes if you wish. Do you have a pen and paper with you, by the way? I'll
Let
give you
me
some time
search.
to get it if you need it.
Yeah, I think I need some time. Just a
Hmm.
second.
That's okay.
Can I type on my laptop? It's
You
okay.
can if you like. I always think it's easier for the candidate to use pen and paper, but if you prefer the
For me,
laptop,
it's fine.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so I will now send the topic to you in the chat. So you'll check the Zoom chat.
Zoom chat, right? Okay.
Hmm. Can you see the
Uh,
topic?
Not yet. Just a second. Still loading.
Hmm.
Oh yeah. Talk about a photo that you like.
Hmm. I'd like you to talk about a photo that you like. Your 1 minute of preparation time starts now.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you'll have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
So now I'd like to talk about my favorite photo. But before I answer, I have to preface that I am not a photorealistic person. I mean, I don't take a lot of photos, and I don't think that I have had great experience of taking photos. And in my gallery, I don't have a lot of them. I mean, so the photo that I'd like to talk about was not taken by me. It was actually taken by a professional photographer. It was a time when my extended family went to Samarkand. It's one of the regions here. It is well known for its historical places. So the photo was taken in this place called Registan Square. There are three monuments standing tall and strong, and it's really beautiful, I'd say. Um, there are around 10 people in the photo, my grandparents, my parents, my brother, and my aunt. I wouldn't say that it is something that would really make me happy seeing it. It's just something that has sentimental value, so I'd like to talk about that. Um, I would say that this photo is really high in quality because again it was taken by a photographer. I think they decided to take this photo because they wanted to capture this moment of gathering because we don't get to meet up all the time, and it's really kind of difficult for us to gather at one place. The background of the photo is what stands out, right? There is this beautiful scenery of like different buildings, and then there is also this beautiful sky. It was taken during the day, so you can see the sun shining and then some birds flying around. I think that I would like to print it because I don't really trust this digital photo so that I can be confident that it's safe, it's there. So yeah, that is a photo that I like the most and that I want to print so that it doesn't lose along the way when we
Okay,
kind of
thank
change.
you. Um, Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. I don't know if I'm live at the moment. I hope I'm live, but I have a few things that I need to do before we can continue with this test.
You're live, you're live.
I am
It is
live?
echoing. Just a second. Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes, you are. Let me turn. Yes, you are.
okay. Maybe you can speak to the audience a little bit while I try to get this test back up. So, just to explain briefly what happened, as we were transitioning from part 2 to part 3, I got something popped up on my screen saying like error of some kind, and then my computer shut down completely, and then it wouldn't restart. I don't know, maybe I had too many things plugged into my computer. Like I had an external monitor and some other things. I have no idea. I'm not massively gifted with streaming. But I have found our test again. So I'm going to check just the chat. Let's go home, view channel. And I want to see how many. Oh, we still have 10 people watch chat, which is nice. I just need to open the chat just because I need to keep track of messages. So let's do that. If you're in the chat, can you just let me know that you can see me and hear me okay? Okay, it's okay. Let's continue. Yes, Glenn said he's trying to fix it. Yeah, he did. Okay. So, I apologize for the technical difficulties, but let's jump straight back into our test. We're getting to part 3. We've just done part 2. Any questions before we continue? Nope. Okay,
Let's dive in.
cool. All right. So, you've been talking about this photograph that you like. Let's move on now and talk a little about photography in general. What kinds of things do people like taking photos of?
I think there are various of things that people are fond of taking photos. It could range from natural scenery like mountains and rivers to family members just to capture this moment, right? So I feel like there are various things that you can take photos of, and yeah, it depends from one person to another. Everybody has their own preferences.
And what skills or abilities does a good photographer need?
I think it would be perfect if a photographer would know how to, take a picture from a right angle so that there's right brightness and contrast, and of course he has to know a little bit of editing so that he can repolish the photo afterwards and make it a bit look more attractive, better, more stunning, I guess.
You mentioned editing there. How was taking photographs in the past different to how it is nowadays?
Well, for one, in the past, cameras used to be very big and large, and for that reason, people couldn't have their own ones, or at least it would cost a fortune for them to buy one. I mean, I'm talking about like century ago, let's say. Also, I believe that it would take a lot of time for them just to take one photo. Now we can do it at a faster rate, and I think it's very convenient for us to capture any moment that we like. So yeah.
Does that mean that the quality of photographs nowadays is better too?
Because of advancing technology and specifically the quality of cameras, I think, yeah, now it is way better than what we used to have. I mean, now we can change the quality ourselves. I mean, there is a setting in many phones now where you can actually go from like a good quality to a better one and then the best one. So yeah.
Some people say nowadays people take too many photos. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like people after this all these developments lost their ability to be present. They just want to post another, reel on their Instagram account just to attract followers, or they just want to broadcast it to as many people as they can. And because of that, I feel like we lost our this ability to soak in the moment. So yeah, I feel like it has become a common thing among people.
And apart from photography, what other professions might a creative person be interested in?
I feel like creativity is something that every person would need, generally speaking. I mean, it's better if you have one, right? If you have some degree of creativity. But to be more specific, I think people who are working for film industry should be creative. Those who create their piece of art should be creative because without it, probably they won't be able to reach this pinnacle of success, and maybe they might not be able to gain popularity. So I feel like it's one of the skills that you need to have almost in all aspects of your life.
Sure, we may need it in many different jobs, but can you think of any jobs specifically that require high levels of creativity?
Um, well, I could talk about artists. I mean, they have to um, learn how to illustrate what's in their mind and this, let's say, put it on paper, piece of paper. And without creativity, I think it's very difficult to do it. Also, I believe that if they like creativity, then probably they won't be able to come up with as much original or piece of art as other people would. If I mean, those who are creative. So yeah.
And finally, do you think being creative is something that a person is born with, or is it something that they learn?
Some people say that it's something that's innate, something that you're born with, but I feel like anything can be practiced and anything can be improved. So, if you indulge in activities that stimulate growth in your creativity levels, probably then you can improve it. You can do different things. You can try out like things that you've never done before, and that also makes you somehow creative. Even reading books, I believe, can kind of enhance your imagination and in turn boost your creativity levels. So I think it's something that you can work on and something that can be developed through different practices.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
One of the strangest tests I've ever given. I've noticed my ring light has gone off, so I just want to switch this off. Do just give me one moment. Okay. First of all, for the people in the chat, please let me know what score you think the candidate deserves for this performance. I will reveal the scores that I have in a moment. Before that, I just want to ask you, firstly, how are you feeling after all of this drama?
It's the first time I'm, let's say, giving a speech to like the net number of audience, like online people, and because it was something broadcasted, I felt a little bit nervous. So yeah,
Yeah, how
it's not the
important?
best performance, to say the least.
Yeah, how important do you think it is for IELTS candidates to learn how to speak under pressure?
That is crucial. That is something that would make life-changing difference in their scores, basically. I mean, if you're confident and if you're calm, probably you'll be speaking a lot better compared to time when you are not confident, when you are not calm, when you are nervous. So yeah, it's very important.
Very often, like with the scary things in life, right, you have to do them like multiple times before they feel natural, right? Like think about like skiing or something like that, right? The first time you do
Yeah,
it, it's terrifying, and then you kind of get used to it, but you're still not very good, and then only after like many times do you then enjoy it. Obviously you can't really do that with IELTS because it's so expensive to take this test.
we'll try
um
to do so.
what are so what can candidates do to help them to feel, a bit more relaxed during the test? Because many people do underperform because of nerves, not because of their language ability.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the least qualified person to give advice on that matter because I'm still struggling myself as well a little bit. But what I say to my students is to just forget about the task. Don't put yourself into the box and try to be as natural as you can.
Difficulties. One moment. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah, it is difficult. I always, I convince or try to convince my students to do scary things in English, like to do public speaking, to do things online, to, maybe even start conversations with strangers and things like this, because those feelings are the same type of feelings that you have before you go into a test, right? Where you're worried about what you're going to say, you're worried about how you're going to be judged, and so, if you can pluck up the courage to do that type of stuff, it can certainly help. And with regards to this test, so the tasks, the questions that you had, or the themes that you had, so you had photography in part 3, then you had to talk about a photo you liked in part 2, and in part 1 you had like the place where you live, drinking, and parks. Were any of these topics particularly difficult, or were any of the questions particularly difficult?
My part one was fine, I guess, but as for my part two, I feel like it was one of the worst performances that I've ever had. Um,
Can you be
because
specific about
again, I
what
don't
you
have
thought
this
went wrong?
The thing is, I don't have my favorite photo. I don't I know it sounds like weird and anything, right? But I just had to came up as a lie, right? I just had to come up as a lie. So yeah,
Do you think there's something you could have done apart from coming up with a lie?
I could have talked about a photo that I have and that I really like, right? But again, I don't think that I would be able to find one.
What's your?
Yeah,
Do you have any social media where you have like, or Instagram or Telegram where you have a picture of yourself?
I do. But I don't like posting on social media.
Uh-huh.
I don't have my Instagram, but it's totally off topic. But anyways,
Yeah, I would have probably gone down that route instead of lying, because once you lie, you're under more pressure to come up with details, and then you
yes,
you
yes,
can't
yes.
just access the memory. You have to access the creative part of your brain, and that is extra cognitive load that we don't need. I would just say, well, I don't have a particular favorite photo, but one that comes to mind is the profile picture that I use. Now, I don't really use Instagram a lot. I'm not that type of person who posts pictures, so the picture that I have on Telegram is like just a professional one because I'm a teacher. It has like this like artificial background, so it's not like something real, but it's like a picture of the forest in the background, right? And so it doesn't have to be like a photo that you love. Being honest and being sincere, I think, is a better approach. I know a lot as teachers, a lot of people say, "Oh, if you've never been somewhere, or if you don't have a photo, just make it up," as if that makes it easier. It doesn't always make it easier, and I think telling the truth when we're under pressure is easier than making up details. I'm forgetting about this test, as an English speaker, as an English user, what do you see as some of your biggest strengths or weaknesses?
Um, I don't really have this, ability to assess my own performance, but one thing for sure, I have to work on my pronunciation. Other than that, I would believe that it would be better if I worked on my accuracy, I mean, grammar.
I'm gonna
So
hold
yeah,
you. Can you be specific about what's in your pronunciation that you don't like very much?
sometimes I might mispronounce some words. Um, apart from that, maybe I might have a lot of grammar mistakes. Not a lot of grammar mistakes, but few grammar mistakes when I'm excited and nervous at times. So I have to work on that as well.
Are there any areas of grammar in English that you feel you're not so strong at?
No, it's not about me, feeling confident or not. It's just about me, uh, about my emotions, let's say. When
Mhm.
I'm pumped up, then I might make some stupid mistakes. That's for sure.
All right. So I'm going to just have a look at the chat and see what they say. Somebody said if I don't give 9, then they're unsubscribing. Cool. Someone gave you 8778, just 7.5. I definitely think you're higher than that. Let's have a look. Yeah, I guess only. Oh, someone else said 7887. So that's interesting. One person says 7887. The other one says 8778. I'm going to just talk a little bit about some things in your speech. So, where was it? I'm trying to find my notes. Okay, there are the first set of notes. So the first thing, your part 1 was extremely strong. I think in part 1 you were very, very close to being a 9. However, there were just a couple of like slightly strange bits in your speech. You mentioned like rush hours, and in English we tend not to use rush hours, even though it might be like between 6 and 8, which is not 1 hour, it feels like 2 hours. As a frozen expression, we say during rush hour or in rush hour rather than rush hours. So we tend not to use it in the plural. Is it a big deal? No. You say that the roads can be over jammed. Now, to me, that was an example of just a little bit of strange phrasing. Like, even though we have the word traffic jam, it sounds strange to me to say the roads are over jammed. Just there's a lot of traffic on the road, or there are traffic jams or something like that. So just uh, slight odd bits of phrasing. However, there were, the length of your answers was really, really good. You didn't extend too much beyond the main thing. You stayed on topic, but none of your answers were super short. Used a lot of good vocab, like to stay hydrated, would love to do something, green spaces, cool, all of that, nice. You used like it's an integral part of my diet, and that feels a little bit overly formal for an IELTS part 1. Like I would never. I don't know anyone in the world with an L1 user who would, in a conversational tone, say it's an integral part of my diet. That feels a little bit too formal, a little bit too academic. So there are minor things. I think you said transports as a countable noun is a plural noun. You said like the transports run on time, and we don't have transport as a countable noun, right? It has to be an uncountable singular
Yes.
noun. So the transport runs on time rather than transports run on time. Those are very, very minor issues, but when they build up, they can make the difference between a 9 and 8 with like grammar, vocab, pronunciation, and fluency and coherence. Definitely think in part 1 your fluency was amazing. You were speaking like it was a really beautiful flow, and then I felt like in part 2 and 3 your fluency just dropped off a little bit. I think your coherence was great throughout. Maybe the last question you were talking a little bit about what creative people can do, but then I think you brought it around, and then you were talked about like those are things that people can do to become more creative. So I don't think there were any big lapses in coherence. I think your ideas are perfectly understandable, really, really well developed. But a hawkish examiner would say that because of those hesitations in parts 2 and 3, it's probably enough to pull you down to 8 for fluency and coherence. With vocab, I also think you have the range of a 9, but again, just because of slightly odd bits of phrasing, well, odd bits of phrasing is an odd bit of phrasing. There are hawkish examiners again who might pull you down to an 8. My favorite bit of the test was you said that you're a sucker for coffee. Absolutely loved that. I don't care whether that was memorized or not. I thought you used it to great effect. It was really, really good. Like, I'm a sucker for coffee. Really enjoyed that. In part 3, like with vocab, just like what if I think what could pull you down to an 8? You mentioned like cameras in the past used to be big and large, and I think, well, what are we doing there? Big and large? It's like, oh, he's short and not tall. It's like big and heavy,
Right.
big and clunky, maybe big and not very sophisticated. But I don't know why sometimes candidates do this. They stack. They just use absolute synonyms. They say like, oh, it was interesting and fascinating. I think that's again just slightly unnatural. If an examiner gave you 9 for vocab, I wouldn't be surprised. I think in this performance, probably 8 is more likely. With grammar, I would give you a 9 for grammar, despite a couple of minor issues. You said, like, as much pieces of art as possible instead of as many. For me, that is, exactly the type of mistake my dad would make, or even maybe not a mistake, but we know the rules about countable and uncountable nouns, right? As much uncountable nouns, so you can drink as much water as you want, but you can do as many things as you want. Much and many, slight mistake there. You use like would in an if clause, like if a photographer would know. Now, using would in if clauses, it's something as teachers, when we teach conditionals, we always say, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. But then L1 users do it all the time. So I have no problem with candidates using if a photographer would know instead of if a photographer knew. There are certainly some examiners who are super strict who would say, no, the rule says that you don't use would in the if clause. I would give you a 9 for grammar, and for pronunciation, it's, again, I would lean towards the 9. You do have some phonological possible limitations where you often use like the instead of the, right? So you might, instead of saying like it's the best thing in the theater, you might say something, oh, it's the best thing in the theater. Something. So your the and th sounds, you might have a slight phonological limitation there. But again, for me, like L1 users, like in London, people use the and the. Like, I think that it's the best thing in the theater, right? And in many parts of America, they use the instead of the. Like, it's the best. So, yeah, I'm okay with that phonological limitation. I think aspects of connected speech are there. I think your chunking is fine. Your intonation is fine. I think you said film instead of film at one point, which maybe shows some difficulties with this consonant cluster, but Irish people say film. So again, who am I to judge? Filtered sounded a little bit like filtered instead of filtered. Those were the only examples of mispronunciations. And again, I'm thinking of the marks that I gave last week, and they were high compared to what the candidates got before. So maybe now I'm a bit harsh. Overall, if I was awarding marks right now, I would probably, I don't know, 8.0 or 8.5. According to the marks that I gave, 8.5, so I'll stick with my 8.5. Could an examiner award 8.0 for this performance? Yes. Could I see an examiner awarding 7.5 for this performance? I don't think so. I think you're definitely above the 7.5. I think you are a C2 user of English. You're not, for me, you're not, or this performance wasn't at that band 9 level, but you're certainly not far away from a band 9. And if in the next, 3 months or 6 months, if you wrote to me and said, oh, I got a band 9, I would not be surprised at all. If you wrote to me and said, I got a band 8, I would not be surprised at all. I would be surprised with anything less than an 8, though. So if you do get less than an 8 in the next one, then you've definitely underperformed. Someone says 910 97, so that's an interesting score. Someone says 8888, so you have you have a bit of variety in the chat. Most people agree that your score is around about an 8. Some people put it a little bit lower, some people put it a little bit higher. But do you have any questions or comments about the feedback that I've given, or any questions about IELTS or anything else?
I really enjoyed it. Really, really glad that I got this opportunity, and I want to thank you for presenting this opportunity like for free. I mean, not many people do that. We have to admit it. So appreciate it. Thank you. I'm your follower, and hopefully, yeah, we will have another session.
Awesome.
We'll have another definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let me know when you take the test for real. The next time, let me know what score you get, because I'm always interested in following up and seeing, comparing the scores that I give with the scores that,
Thank you.
that candidates get. But yeah, all the best, and we'll be in touch again sometime, I'm sure.
We wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
brother.
for watching.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you for listening. Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for watching. All right, so I'm going to go into Telegram and try to find another candidate. If our dear candidate ever leaves, which he just has. So I'm going to go back into Telegram and try to find another candidate. For some reason, I'm super big, so I need to make myself a bit smaller. I don't know why things change so much on OBS, but sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm going to go back into Telegram. I'm going to try to find another candidate, and hopefully we won't have technical difficulties this time. So let's open up Telegram. Let's put that message in there. Some people writing, can I try to be the next candidate? Let me just remind you of the process. Right now, I'm putting a message into the Telegram group. I'm saying if you're watching and would like to be the second candidate on the live stream, please reply to this message with one response. I've put that in the chat now, in the Telegram. If you're not a member of the Telegram group, then you can't take part, unfortunately. Yeah, that's just the way that it is, because I can't get messages to people outside of Telegram. Sometimes people win these speaking tests on Telegram, and then they can't be contacted via direct message, which is also can be a little bit frustrating. But a very, very strong performance from this candidate, right? I know it's difficult to focus with the technical breakdown that we had, but I definitely think there's a lot to like. I know a lot of people want to get a 9, and they're very disappointed if they don't get the 9. For me, the juice is not worth the squeeze when it comes to IELTS. There are far more interesting things to do. If you need IELTS for like band 7 to get to university, great. Do your preparation, do your work, get your 7. For me, if you're stuck on 8.0 or 8.5 and you're trying to get that 9, for me, it would just drive me crazy, and I would give up and I would do something else. I would do CPE, or I would do, I don't know, I would just forget about it. So this is an interesting, let's just read some of the comments on Telegram, right? So Mirko Biel wrote 1, please 1. Oh, please choose him. He's desperate. Yeah. Let's have a look. I don't know if people are... I don't understand what's being written in the chat. Some people are laughing. No idea. No idea. Okay, so I'm going to choose a candidate at random. Let's do this. Okay. Did that person write more than once? Yes, the candidate wrote more than once, so the candidate will not be selected. Let's choose another one. Okay. Okay, so we have somebody called M. Now, I have no idea who M is. The username looks very strange. It looks like a fake one, KMLVH. Strange. Anyway, so I have picked, someone has been selected at random. I'm going to send them that. I'm going to send them the link right now. I know on my Telegram I have many people who have many accounts on Telegram, all subscribed to my channel, because they have a higher chance of being selected if they put their name forward multiple times. There was one guy I banned for having 4 accounts 4 accounts applying for these tests. I can't stop cheating, but it's one of the reasons why I've stopped doing the free organized live tests. Sorry, the free organized tests, not live ones, because so many people are cheating. And that's again the sad thing about trying to do things for free is people will cheat. You know, disappointing, but okay. Mr. Examiner, consider the fact that he is tired. He worked for 6 hours. He deserves a 9. How do you think scoring works? Do you think examiners ask candidates, how are you feeling? How many hours have you worked? And then give a score based on that? I'm not judging the candidate's English. I'm not judging the candidate's English in general. I'm judging a performance in 11 to 14 minutes, and that's it. Anyway, our next candidate is here. They're just joining at the moment, so I'm hoping they don't have any connection problems. Hello, can you hear me okay? I can't hear you. Your audio isn't connected, unfortunately. We had the situation with the first candidate.
Isn't it good?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Wonderful. So, hello, welcome, and thank you for being a brave volunteer to have a speaking test live in front of an audience. Can you just tell us your name and can you tell us where you're from?
My full name is Hilala Kamilova, and you can call me by my first name. And I'm originally from Uzbekistan.
Cool. We haven't started the test yet. First, I just want to ask a couple of questions. Why are you planning to take IELTS, and is there a type of score you're hoping for?
Yeah, of course. I'm aiming for more than 8. I think I need IELTS for my educational purposes. Like, I want to enter for the like I think it's for the university, and besides, I want to be an English teacher.
Hmm. You say you think it's for the university. Does that mean you're not sure and you haven't decided like what you're planning to study in the future?
Um, I can say yeah, because I don't know. I haven't made my mind which field should choose.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, give it some time. Think about it for sure. How do you prepare for IELTS? Do you have lessons with like a teacher? Do you study with friends, or do you watch videos online?
Yeah. Actually, I have studied in one educational center, and then I have graduated that place, and then I moved to another one. Now I'm studying, and I will take IELTS on 26th of December.
Okay, you mentioned that you graduated from this learning center. Like, what type of lessons did you have there? Were they group lessons, and did your teacher like check your writing or give you practice speaking tests, or how did it work?
Actually, it was mostly about general English. They only focused on our general English. For example, instead of solving practice tests, we only focused on reading some articles, newspapers, and like do a bit of listening, like only watching some videos, like through social media. And that's all. We didn't do practice. We only did everything naturally. And so like, they believe that if we have a strong general English, it would be better, and then we can get high score rather than preparing for the IELTS artificially.
Yeah, I definitely think, IELTS, and I mentioned this many times, IELTS is an English test. And I know, there are a lot of people on YouTube or a lot of people everywhere in training centers, language schools who want to make you think that IELTS is something more, that there are secrets or there are things that the examiner wants that you don't know about. It's not like that. IELTS is just an English test. I definitely think for, students should be familiar with the format of the test just so that there are no surprises. And I definitely think in the writing part, this is something that you can prepare for and you have to get right. But in general, in the speaking part, maybe part 2 you can do some preparation to learn like how to take notes and how to organize a 2-minute talk, but in general, yeah, general English is definitely the best approach, but you still should have some test preparation. Have you done any practice tests like with the listening, the reading, the speaking, the writing before?
Yeah, as I have mentioned before, I have graduated that educational center, and now I'm studying like official like IELTS preps like group. Now we are just spending most of our time by solving those practices and like preparing for speaking.
And
those cue cards.
what scores do you usually get in like the reading or the listening parts?
Um, Reading and listening, I think the easiest parts. I usually get 8.5 or 9, but writing is a bit problem. It's challenging, I believe. I usually get 7, sometimes 7.5. I think it's up to my luck. But speaking as well, that's normal, but I'm more hopeful on reading and listening.
And what type of feedback have you got on your writing? You said you usually get 7, 7.5. Do you know what your weaknesses are? Is it like task response? Is it coherence and cohesion?
I usually say that I try to use some fancy words. So as a result, I end up using them in an inaccurate way. So that's why they usually give me low score.
Okay, interesting. All right, so we're going to start our speaking test in a moment. You, of course, know that there are 3 parts. We'll go through the whole speaking test from start to finish. As you speak, I will be taking notes. That's on both positive features and not so positive features of your speech, so don't worry if I take notes. I'll also have my phone with me to keep track of the time, so if you see me pressing something, that's just the timer. Do you have any questions about anything before we start the test?
No.
Nope. All right. Well, best of luck. Good evening. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Hilala Kamilova, and you can call me by my first name.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where do you live?
So currently I am living in a center of Uzbekistan, the capital of Uzbekistan. That's called Tashkent. And I can say that that's a quite charming city with people who are really hospitable and easygoing. Yeah.
And what do young people do for fun in the city?
Actually, there are various things that people can do. For example, they can just go for shopping and do a bit of shopping or do a bit of mirror shopping. I think those are the cool things. And especially, I can say there are various parks as well. So people can just hang out with each other or do a bit of people watching the year, do a chit chatting. And of course, there are various cafes as well, I can say, where most of the people usually, like youngsters, usually love to go and then sit. Yeah,
And
and drink a sip.
does your city have a lot of tourists?
Yeah, of course. I can say that it really depends on, for example, there is a specific tourist season. So at the time, my city usually be crammed with tourists. On the other hand, there might be times, for example, in summer, like in winter especially, there won't be any tourists. I don't know why, but yeah.
All right, let's talk about sport now. Do you have a favorite sport?
Yeah, of course. From my childhood on, I was really into chess. I don't know, I really entered a lot of chess classes, and my parents also encouraged me to do so because they thought that it would definitely help me to enhance my analytical and strategical thinking. I don't know, I love the thing, and then I love how people play chess. I love just observing this.
Thank you. And how often do you watch sport?
Not quite often, I can say, as I have a school as well as university preparations, and of course my educational those courses. So actually, I don't have quite time. I have a lot on my plate, so that's why I usually do not watch any kind of sports. I might watch only on holidays if I have a time.
Mhm. And when you were in elementary school, did you have to do any sports there?
Yeah, of course. As I have mentioned before, in our school, there was some chess classes, so I just participated those ones. And besides, we had tennis as well, so I allowed like table tennis. That's called, I guess. Yeah, that was really amazing. We spent quality of time with my friends by playing those kind of activities like tennis
Okay,
and chess. That's
thank
really
you.
amazing.
Thank you. Let's talk about films now. How often do you watch films?
Um, that's a head scratcher, but I can say that not. not as much I used to in the past, because now I have a lot, and then I have to do a lot of things, so I don't have time to watch various films. But I can remember that I think in September I have watched once,
Mhm.
but now
Thank you.
not all the time.
Do you have a favorite film?
Ah, yeah, of course. I love that Cruella. I have watched it back in 2024. They have just recently published it at the time, and then that was really amazing. As I had at the time a fad on fashion, so that film really, grabbed my attention, and then I couldn't just stop watching this one. I really liked it.
Hmm. And do you have any favorite actors or directors?
Um, I don't want to sound cliche, but I guess everybody watched Harry Potter. So in there is a one actress. I don't know who played that Hermione. Yeah, is it correct? Like I don't know his name. How to like? Everybody calls her different, but I can say that like she's my favorite actress.
And when did you last watch a film in the cinema?
Um, I don't know, man. Maybe I was young. Yeah, when I was 6 years old, I guess I went to cinema with my parents and then watched once. But since that time, I have never watched. Like, I haven't gone any kind of cinema places.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this next part of the test, I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to speak about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. But before that, you will have 1 minute to prepare for your talk, and you may take notes if you wish. Do you have a pen and paper with you?
Now I will prepare for this.
Yeah,
Give me a second.
absolutely, sure.
I think I can do it with my laptop.
You can if you like. Pen and paper, I think, always works better, but you're welcome to use your laptop if you prefer.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I will now share the topic for part 2 in the Zoom chat.
Uh,
Can you see the topic?
no.
Sometimes it just takes a moment to load. Can you see the topic now?
No.
Have you accessed the chat in Zoom?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw this.
So I'd like you to talk about a foreign country that you'd like to visit. Your 1 minute of preparation time starts now. Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you'll have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yeah, of course. Actually, I believe that there are a lot of countries where I really want to go and then visit because all of them have different things, and of course, they are different based on their culture and of course their tradition. But the one country that I really want to visit in the future is Japan. Uh, as when I was sixth grade, there was one student from Japan in our school. So I used to study in a private school, so it was international. So from like from people from various cultures and countries came there and then studied. So I really became close friends with that Japanese girl, and then we spent quality of time by talking and then sharing the differences like between our nations and of course culture. That was really amazing because she talked about various things that really opened my eyes because like she talked about natural places in Japan, for example, Mountain Fuji. That was really amazing because she talked about how beautiful and picturesque view there. And of course, there were various places as well where people can go and then have a bit of rest or do a bit of picnic or anything. And she shared some memories from there. That was really amazing. And of course, as I have mentioned before, I am really into those fashion. I really try to be on top of the fashion trends. So she talked about the clothes in the like in Japan, for example, they have a very traditional clothes that's called kimono. So I really wanted to try it, but there wasn't any in Uzbekistan. But anyway, I ended up just getting this because my friend had one and then she just gave it to me. That was really amazing. That gave a great
Okay,
impression.
thank you.
Like that.
Thank you. All
uh,
right, so you've been talking about this country that you'd like to visit, Japan. Let's talk a little more now about traveling. Why do so many people nowadays enjoy traveling abroad?
um, I think because of the culture. And of course, out of curiosity, I can say most of the people really want to discover new things, like explore new cultures. And I guess that really gives, fills people. Because if you just go and then talk with others who is not native, like who has very different background from compared to you, you can share various things and of course brighten widen your horizon. And besides, it really helps people to communicate and then learn new things. So by exposing to different cultures, you can learn this history as well. So I believe
Thank
that
you.
most of
Thank
the
you.
people.
And how has technology changed the way that people plan and experience travel?
Um, I think it has changed a lot. So by the advent of technology nowadays, we can just book some trips and of course flights through social media platforms like with a one click. I guess that's really easy. And besides, it's giving a lot of convenience for people as well. So in the past, people used to just register and then wait like in a long queue. But nowadays, like you can just they usually send you at what time you should come and then at what time your flight will fly. So I think it became a breeze like that, like going there and then coming back. And of course you can book
Thank you.
everything in advance. Help of it.
So, do you think these changes have all been for the better?
Yeah, I believe so because it has changed a lot and then it gave a lot of opportunities for people. Nowadays, many I think it made everything cheaper as well. For example, in the past, in order to go somewhere, you have to register for everything, you have to take visa. So at the time, it was a bit difficult and, of course, challenging. So, but nowadays, you can just find everything. You can do everything by yourself. You do not have to find anyone who is good at, booking some things. Like, you can do everything on your own.
Why do you think some people like going to places that don't have a lot of tourists?
Um, you put me on the spot with this one, but I believe that they are the ones who really want to align with nature, I can say, or the ones who doesn't like maybe they don't want to be like everybody. They want to explore new things and see new things that nobody explored yet. On the other hand, I can say that maybe they are the ones who really want to align with nature because those abandoned places usually be the ones that there's no any
Okay,
kind
thank
of
you.
question of developing
Thank
things
you.
or going on.
You mentioned earlier that one reason why people travel is to improve their cultural understanding. How important is it for people to learn about different cultures?
I think it has a lot of advantages. For example, like if a person just travels to other country and then learns about others' culture, it gives a great opportunity for him or her to just compare the cultures and then learn about their like the differences between traditions. And of course it really like paves the way for just new, explorations, I can say, or the things that they haven't explored before. And of course it really helps them to widen their horizons. And besides, if there are a lot of people who are from different background, you can find an interdisciplinary approach to the problems as well. And I think
Thank
that's the
you.
one.
And do you think it's possible to truly understand a culture without living in that place?
Um, if you have asked this question, like 5 years ago, I would definitely say no. But nowadays, technologies are evolving, so you can have more access to those virtual lives. So you can just put like your headphone on or your this visual, those I don't know, that sunglasses that really like visuals the image of those countries and cultures.
And
So you can easily see.
how do these glasses help us to understand the country's culture?
You can just visualize it, and then if you just see it with your own eyes, it will definitely be easier to you to imagine those things and to align with that culture more easily. Because quite frankly, if you just read it or just listen about this, you cannot fully understand or just fully, engage with the things that are going on in
Okay,
those culture. But if you
thank you.
see it with your eyes,
That is the
yeah,
end
it
of the
will be
test.
easy.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so congratulations, you survived. I'll just go to the chat first of all, and I'll ask people in the chat just to write in the scores that they think that you deserve for this performance. So please do, people, leave it in the chat. I'm not going to look at this. I'll take a look at it in a moment, and we'll see what the other people say, and then I'll give my marks. How do you feel about your performance during the test, and did you feel comfortable enough?
No. It's actually, it was difficult to answer some questions because I have never thought before about those things like cultures. I've never seen, like, I haven't never read any article about this, so I didn't have any idea.
Yeah, there's often like a game between the test makers and language schools and textbooks and things like this. The test makers are always trying to get people off topic, right? Or off script rather. We want candidates to produce meaningful language spontaneously. We don't want them to recite things that they've read. Now, of course, the more life experience you have, the more you read, the more opinions that you can build about these themes. And sometimes for young people, it can be a really, really difficult thing to get through these part threes. When I was 16, 17, I would have found this really difficult to do. So I can't imagine, and that's in my first language, I can't imagine how difficult it must be doing it in a second language. You certainly don't, it never feels like you don't have something to say about something. You produce a lot of speech. You may have noticed in part three I was interrupting you a little bit in part one too. How did you feel about those interruptions, and why do you think I was interrupting you?
I think it's because I speak a lot. I don't know. I have this thing. If I have panic or stress, I usually speak.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's understandable. I mean, a lot of people when they panic, they speed up and they speak very quickly. I don't think you had that problem, but you did have the issue where, very often you were repeating bits of language, like spent quality of time or to align with nature. Like in the same answer, you were using the same bits of vocab, and generally we don't love it when that happens. The themes that you had, like the country that you wanted to visit, was that a true story or was it something you made up? It's okay.
I don't
It's
know. I have no idea about this.
yeah. Many candidates feel comfortable inventing details. I always think it's better to tell the truth. I think it's easier when we're under pressure to talk about the true things. Is there really not a country in the world that you'd like to visit?
There are, but like I didn't have any specific, this information about them. So that's why I thought that it would be difficult for me to explain it and speak, 2 minutes. So that's why I just chose this one.
Okay. Tell me about 2 or 3 countries that maybe you would like to visit.
Egypt, UK, France, Italy.
Okay, you went with Egypt first. What's special about Egypt?
Those ancient places like pyramids, Sphinx. I really want to see them, in person because I have read them. I have read about them when I was, I don't know, fifth grade, I guess. There was a book that's called History, and then, all the information covers about them, these pyramids, how they were built, and of course, how those, people there lived, those kind of things, like history of Mesopotamia or something like this.
And do you know anyone who's been to Egypt?
Yeah, of course. Like, I have my aunt, and then his son lives in Egypt.
And what did your aunt say about Egypt? Did she enjoy it there or not so much?
Yeah. She said it's quite hot, and besides living there, also really expensive. And besides, I don't know. I didn't ask about this.
I think you have enough content to speak about Egypt. I think you could have done that, but it didn't feel like you were lying. I mean, not lying, but inventing details, right? So, like I say, if you worry about how you perform when you're under pressure, my advice is, talk about Egypt, because you certainly have a lot in there that you can say. There were some bits of your speech I really liked, like to do a bit of people watching. This vocab is like stuff that I love. To do a bit of people watching. I think that shows a real sophistication and natural feel for the language. I noticed then you tried to use it a little bit later, like to do a bit of picnic, and it didn't work. And then I felt like, so to do a bit of, you have some understanding of it, but maybe you're not sure about all of the instances in which we use this. So that shows just a little bit of like limited flexibility. And then there were other bits of language that just a bit wrong. Like you said, I spent quality of time. We don't use that. To spend quality time with someone is fine, but not spend quality of time. It's just, I spent quality time with my family, for example. So you used that, I think, twice, and you kind of got it a bit strange. You said, I was 6th grade, instead of like, I was in the 6th grade. So that phrasing was slightly odd. You said, I had a fad on fashion. And I think you used this word fad twice. Now, a fad talks about something that's popular for a short time, right? So, like, if you're old like me, you remember these Tamagotchi pets. That was a fad. Something that is around for, like, about 6 months or a year, and then they disappear. It sounds strange to say I had a fad on fashion. So, I went through a phase. Phase is probably the best word you're looking for there instead of fad. So for me, there were too many instances of inaccurate slips with vocabulary to award more than a 7. So I'm awarding 7. I think there was a lot of really, really good vocab in there. Your range of vocab was really good. At times it felt like you were forcing bits of language, like paves the way for. It kind of worked and it was kind of okay, but at times it just felt like you were like forcing through that fancy language, much like you said about your writing feedback, where your teachers tell you that you're forcing in fancy language without full control of it. I would say it seems that you don't need to do that because your range of vocab is good, but when you keep trying to overload the fancy vocab, that's when you tend to get things a bit wrong. So, before I give your marks, I want to have a look at the chat. Somebody says 7, maybe 7.5. Somebody says 6.5. Somebody says, Mr. Glynn, would you like to welcome Martian people to your speaking mock? Interesting. Somebody says 8877. Interesting. So if someone says 8.5, so, you have a big range in the chat. Some people say 6.5. Some people say 8.5. So for me, I'm giving vocab score of 7. Fluency and coherence, this is probably the trickiest one, but I'm going with 8. I do think you speak with a really good level of fluency. The one thing I would be very mindful of, the one thing I would worry about just a little, is the length of your answers. Sometimes you go on and on and on, and the examiner will cut you short. I know some people worry about not speaking enough, and so they keep speaking until the examiner stops them. What we want to see is, that golden middle of not giving short answers, not extending answers too long, and it feels like you're always ready to say, and also, and because of this, and for example, or to give another example. So learning the sweet spot of what's not too long, what's short, that can be tricky. Keep in mind the examiner wants to ask you, 5 or 6 questions in part 3. They only have 4 or 5 minutes to do that. So you know that the length of your answers, some will be longer than others, but the length of your answers should be about 20 to 30 seconds. This is something that you can practice with a stopwatch, to make sure to feel what 20 seconds feels like, and to see how much volume, how much language you can produce within that 20 to 30 seconds. Some examiners might find it even a little bit annoying if they have to keep interrupting you. It shouldn't affect your score too much, but when people overspeak like this, it's easy to lose coherence. It's easy to drift away from the main idea. And I felt a little bit in part 2, you were talking about Japan and why you'd like to go there. But for me, a lot of the focus was on your friendship with this invented Japanese girl. And it's like, you're kind of talking about Japan, but you're talking about, the interesting relationship you had with your friend. And it's like, are we fully focused on the right thing? Not sure, but I think enough for 8 for fluency and coherence. Your pronunciation, I think, is really nice. It's very easy to understand you. You have good phonetics. At times, your intonation is ever so slightly flat. I don't mean flat like a band 6 flat, but maybe not quite enough intonation for the 9. But I think, an examiner may award you 8 for this. If an examiner gave you 7 for pronunciation, I wouldn't be massively surprised, but I put your pronunciation slightly higher at 8. And for grammar, I think probably 7 for grammar. Your range is okay, but there was nothing. Usually when I take notes, I usually find bits of grammar that I think like, oh, that's a really nice bit of grammar. That's not. I think your accuracy generally is decent. You still had some problems, like you said, I have watched it in 2024, like that's present perfect, right? And you think, okay, in 2024 is a past finished time, so we should use I watched it instead of I have watched it. So, those, it's not a massive mistake, but it is noticeable. I think you said I participated these competitions instead of I participated in. So understanding, like, I know collocations are sometimes vocab, sometimes grammar. Generally, your accuracy is very, very good. You probably have enough accuracy for an 8, but maybe not quite enough range. But I don't think you need to, I wouldn't worry so much about that. I think improving the range is much, much easier than improving the accuracy. The character in Harry Potter, her name is Hermione. But it doesn't matter if you mispronounce it, right? Just say, oh, I'm not sure of her name in English, but in our language, we call her Germione or whatever it is. But in part 1, you can't really engage with the examiner. So you can't ask the examiner, like, oh, is that okay? Like, it must be an interview in part 1. In part 3, you can engage. You can ask the examiner, oh, does that mean that? Or what does that mean? Or could you explain this? There's a bit of you can have a discussion with the examiner in part 3, but not in part 1. So yeah, according to my marks, this is a strong 7.5. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if an examiner gave you an 8. I think you're better than the 7, but I wouldn't be completely shocked if you got a 7. For me, you are clearly a C1 user of English. I don't know how old you are, but you mentioned that you're young. To reach this level of English at this age is an amazing, amazing achievement. And I think with a little bit more preparation, I really would not be surprised if you got an 8. I know you said you're aiming for an 8.5. When did you say that you're planning to take the test? Quite soon, right?
Yeah, 26th of December.
Okay, so I would say a realistic target here is 8. If you got 8.5, I I would be a little bit surprised if you got 8.5. I think 8 is a realistic target, but you have there's a lot to like in your speech. You could get an 8 for vocab, you could get an 8 for pronunciation, you could get an 8 for... Yeah, I don't see anywhere where you're really going to get the 9 though. So yeah, I think for me 8 is a realistic target, and overall 8.5 is definitely realistic, because if your speaking is 8, if you can get 9 in listening and 9 in reading, don't know about your writing. Yeah, but those are my comments and those are my marks. I don't know. Do you have any questions about my comments or about the marks or about anything else?
This was cool. Yeah, I really liked.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Please let me know when you take your test and when you get your results back. I know you'll be thinking about other things, but if you don't mind, please let me know on Telegram. Just write and say, okay, I've taken my IELTS test. This is what I got, because I'm always interested to see what the candidates get and to compare my scores with the official results that people get.
Thanks.
Cool. Really nice to meet you, and good luck with the real test. Okay. Interesting ending there. All right, so I'm just taking a look at the chat. I don't think I can keep going for much longer, unfortunately. I will take just 5 or 10 minutes to take any questions. I'm just looking through the chat too. Few people said solid 7.5. Yeah, I agree. I think 7.5 is solid. Ceiling, I think 8. Floor 7. Expected 7.5. You called it damn. Yep. And people can have different opinions about... People can have different opinions. There is always something subjective about marking speaking and writing. I've been in meetings where you have like a bunch of examiners, a bunch of the quality assurance examiners, a bunch of the senior examiners, and they play a recording of a particular test and then they ask people to discuss. And I've been in situations where, everyone disagrees, where even like the head of quality assurance disagrees with like the big boss of the exams, and they say like, no, it's not that, it must be this. So having a difference of opinion with speaking and writing is very, very normal. Sometimes, and if you do have a different opinion to me, there might be some cases where, not that you're right, but you might have a justification for that. And so if you ever work as an examiner, you really shouldn't be worried about getting marks wrong. Most examiners, when they first start, they're a bit off, and the purpose of the people above you is to monitor the marks that you give and to try to see where you're going wrong, and to think like, okay, are you too generous with your marks? Are you too strict with your marks? And then to try to recalibrate so that we're all marking at the same level. In principle, it's a beautiful idea. In practice, it doesn't always work, and there are examiners who tend to be hawkish. They give very strict marks, and they tend to be examiners who are very generous. Doves, they give higher marks. So if we have a difference of opinion, that's fine. It's normal. What's usually expected if an examiner gets something horribly wrong is they will write some type of justification. So someone will go to them and say like, okay, you marked this as a score of 5.0. We marked it as 7. Can you tell us what you were thinking here? Can you justify the marks? And if they can justify them, fine. If they can't justify them, then, they'll get a warning. And if they keep doing this, then they'll have to retrain. So, there is a quality assurance thing there. I'm just asking the chat if they have any questions about anything, because I'm going to disappear in 5 or 10 minutes. And I guess when people hear that there's not going to be another speaking test, that's usually the point where they click off the live stream. So that happens. I will just wait a couple of minutes just in case people have any questions. Can I go through anything else in the chat? Judging people is people's natural ability and instinct, I guess. Not sure. Oh, you're a pretty harsh judge, somebody says. I don't know if they're talking to me or talking to somebody else. About the correctness of my marks or the accuracy of my marks. So sometimes I get messages that say say things like a real examiner wouldn't give that a score of 7.5. I promise you, if I'm giving it a score of 7, you'll find some examiners who are giving it 8, some examiners who are giving it 7.5, some who are giving it 7, some who are giving it 6.5, some who are giving it 6. There is no monolith. That examiners are not. It's not one group of people with exactly the same point of view. Some written things especially can be extremely difficult to mark. Not all of them, but some of them can be really problematic, and so you can get a really, really wide range. I do research on the marks that I give and compare them to the marks that the candidates get. I always expect candidates to get a slightly higher mark in the real test, because they hopefully learn something from the feedback. And that is what we see. I've made videos about this before, about how accurate my marks are. Some people say I'm too harsh, some people say I'm too generous. But you know, the research that I've done shows that my marking is accurate. And I do work as an examiner. I don't work on IELTS, but I do work as an examiner, and I've been doing this type of work for a long time. And my marking is known to be very, very accurate, which is why I'm selected to do, you know, some supervising work. I measure the marks that other examiners give in some exams. So yeah, I don't worry when people tell me my marking is not accurate, because it's my job. Mr. Examiner, how frequent do you do such sessions? I'd love to test myself out and receive some feedback. Yeah, the biggest problem, of course, is that there's one Glyn and there are many candidates. I did one last week. I did another one today. Will I do one next week? Maybe, if I have time. I used to do the free speaking tests. I used to collect candidates from Telegram and then arrange the speaking tests, but it doesn't work because when things are for free, nobody takes it seriously, and I just can't find candidates. So at least 2 live streams a month is the short answer. I'm trying to do at least 2 live streams a month to give people, to give as many people a chance, because I know that there are people who want it. Ghostman says, do you also study English? No, my background is in sociolinguistics. English is my first language. So I'm from Wales in the UK, so I don't learn English as a second language or an additional language. English is my first language, but I'm also a teacher, a linguist, an examiner, and a materials designer. I make lessons, basically. How can I take a free speaking mock test? The free speaking mock tests only happen in the live streams. Candidates are always selected from my Telegram channel. There's a link to my Telegram channel in the description below, in every video that I make and on every video that I make. So join the Telegram and there will be announcements about how everything works. So that's how you can take part. Candidate says writing. I sent you an email and also sent a message in Telegram, says MD Tariqul Islam. Oh, I think that's Tayyib from, I think that might be Tayyib from the previous, from last week, who got a score of 6.0 in speaking. 6.5 is the score that I gave him. If that is you, Tayyib, I got your message, but I don't reply to every message immediately, but I will get back to you if that is you, Tayyib. I am waiting for your response. So I'll have a look at that again and see what's written there. Sir, can you do the same with writing? Says Awareness Truth. Yeah, I check writing, at least once a week. I think I check somebody's writing. Again, go to the Telegram group. That's where I put the questions and say, okay, respond to this, and I'll do some checks. Can I be mocked in Telegram? Nope. Telegram is where the announcements happen. The free speaking tests happen on the live stream. You can buy a speaking test for like £25, and it's, you get You'll get to choose a day and time that you want, and then you'll get video feedback, full feedback on all aspects of your speech. I think it's a ridiculously low price, but it's the price that we have in December and January. Then I will think about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to collect candidates, and whether I will stay with IELTS or whether I will do some other things. Mark Starr says, are you planning to do a free IELTS writing check? Yeah. Not right now, but maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Awareness retracted. Yeah, the problem I have, Mark, is the problem I have is that my content isn't very watchable, so it's very difficult to grow because I do long form content. I don't do find out these 3 amazing tricks that examiners don't want you to know. It seems to me that that's the popular content on YouTube, and the long form content just isn't very watchable, and I fully understand that. I knew that would be the case when I started this, and I don't care so much about views, but of course, like anyone on YouTube, I want my channel to grow. I want my message to get out there. So now I have a nice foundation of subscribers. I need to think a little bit more strategically, or maybe more tactically, about what I'm going to do to grow this channel. And unfortunately, long writing checks and long speaking analysis is not the stuff that's going to push the channel further, unfortunately. Ghostman says, how is your name spelt and pronounced? It's Glyn, and it's Glyn. Glyn, Glyn. It's the Welsh version of the name Glenn. Means the same thing. Irish Glen, Welsh Glyn. People are too lazy to watch long videos. No, I'm the same, Awareness. I click on videos sometimes, and then I hear like the first 10 seconds I'm not interested, and I click off and I click to the next one. I'm not judging people for being lazy. I understand it's the internet. As a language learner, I would love to have a speaking test with someone. Like, I speak some Russian, right? I would love to have a speaking test in Russian and then get video feedback on all of the aspects of my speech. It would be painful, but I think it would be extremely useful. And that's why I do what I do, because nobody else does that. Most of the other feedback, it might be meaningful, but it's usually stuff like, oh, you should use more fillers and boosters, or you make too many grammar mistakes. And it's like, not massively helpful. Omit asks, does my score go down if I speak slower than average speaking speed? There isn't average speaking speed. We're always thinking about something called strain. If you speak too quickly, it puts a strain on following your answers. If you speak too slowly, it puts a strain on the listening. I can give you an example of this. So the question will be, what's your favorite sport? I'll give you a slow answer that's fine. So my favorite sport is football. I used to play it a lot, but I don't play it so much nowadays, but I still watch it. My favorite team is Newcastle. That was quite a slow speech, but it didn't put strain on the listener. An example that puts strain is, what's your favorite sport? Oh, my favorite sport is football because I think I think it is very interesting. And probably you feel a little bit of like negative emotion there. You feel a little bit like, yeah, just say it. If your rate of speech is so slow that it puts strain on the listener, then yes, it does affect your score, and it can affect your score for pronunciation, but mostly it affects it for fluency. Ghostman says, thanks, Mr. Glynn, we appreciate your effort. Cool. Mukhrid says, these long videos are more useful than shorts. Sure, they're useful for serious people, but this is the internet. We don't... the thing that gets views is not long content. Do you have a paid IELTS writing check service? I do, but I think I used to have one, but nobody, not one person bought the writing service, so I just stopped it because people, plenty of people buy the speaking tests, but not so many, or actually nobody has bought a writing check. So, yeah. So I don't have that paid service at the moment, but I did. Okay, and then I always answer like the last part if I am answering an unfamiliar question. Yeah, because you have cognitive load, right? The thing is, difficult questions put pressure on our brain to produce ideas. Now, when your brain is producing ideas, if you're C2 or C1, once your brain produces that idea, your brain can also produce the language to express that idea. However, if you are not C1, C2, your brain needs that extra RAM, or it doesn't have that RAM to produce the language that matches the idea. That's the trick of this. Well, not the trick, but that's the reason why these questions are asked. At lower levels, questions have lower cognitive load. At higher levels, questions have higher cognitive load, and the people who make the tests understand this, which is why in part 1 of the speaking test, the target level is about B1 because it's minimal cognitive load, and in the last part, part 3, it has higher cognitive load, and so there's more C1-ish types of questions. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there because everything hurts. Sorry about the technical issues. Thanks for those people who stayed until the end. I'm sorry again, I only got to 2. I promise next time I will definitely try to get to 3. I will not use the external monitor, which I think killed my computer. I'll definitely try to do 3 next time. Thanks for being such a wonderfully kind audience, and thanks to the candidates who came on and did, very, very well today. More videos from me coming soon. I have a video coming out tomorrow with a impressive candidate, quite a few impressive candidates recently, and another one coming up, I think, on Monday with another super impressive candidate. So, if you're looking, if you want to know what band 8s and 8.5s look like and what they sound like, check out the channel over the next few days because a few more speaking tests will be uploaded. More videos from me coming soon, but for now,